Joining us now from Kingston, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for joining us today. You say that you're worried about the island's ability to withstand this storm. Explain exactly why.
Well, there's no island in the Caribbean, in fact, this entire region, where the infrastructure could withstand a Category 5 hurricane without significant damage. We went through Beryl last year. We had an impact with Beryl that was a Category 4, and we had significant damage to infrastructure, particularly roofs, our road network, our electricity grid. But since then, we've learned, and we have improved our infrastructure, particularly our electrical grid, our communications network. But our road infrastructure would be severely impacted by a Category 5. In terms of residential infrastructure, without doubt, there will be a number of roofs lost, possibly total loss of housing in the areas that are specifically impacted, which would be the southern end of the island, specifically the parish of St. Elizabeth, and possibly even greater damage in Westmoreland, Hanover, parts of Manchester, St. James, and Trelawney. So we are expecting that there will be significant damage, even catastrophic damage, but our preparations and our plans for the immediate recovery have been well put together and well executed. So we expect that we will be able to mount a humanitarian and relief program immediately after. Of course, thankfully, the international community has come on board in a big way. And we have commitments of support already established. So we should be able to launch our recovery process very quickly after the storm is past.
Can you give us a sense of how things stand right now, what the weather is like outside, and where you're coming to us from?
Well, I'm in Kingston, and there are squalls, high winds at time, and now consistent rainfall. We have some reports of flooding. But the real area, the ground zero of this event, is in the southwestern end of the island. So parts of Clarendon, which got the brunt of the Hurricane Beryl last year, would be getting some impact again this year. And St. Elizabeth, as I had mentioned before, that's where the hurricane would have made landfall. We have heard that winds are over 165 miles per hour. There's really nothing that can withstand that kind of wind without damage. So we have already conceded that there will be significant damage in the path that the eye would take, and we are prepared to address those issues as they arise.
The housing stock in Jamaica is greatly varied. There are some, very sturdy structures, and there are others that really aren't much more than some corrugated roof panels. Have you been able to get to those places where people are in particularly vulnerable housing or situations and convince them to get into shelters?
Well, this storm lingered on the coast of Jamaica for a few days. And even before that, we started our preparation in informing our citizens. There is no citizen that can say that they were not properly informed of the danger. I believe we scaled the intensity and severity of the storm to what is actually occurring now. So no one can say that they were misled or they underestimated it. We did put in place a mandatory evacuation order. We provided buses, and we have over 800 shelters, most of which are activated. The last time I've seen we're seeing now an increase in take-up of persons going to the shelters, but not to the extent that we would be satisfied that those who really need the shelter took up the shelter facility. So there are Jamaicans now who are in harm's way by virtue of the decisions that they would have made. My advice to them now is to stay inside, protect life There's very little that can be done now in a Category 5 storm where the impact is direct that could save property. So let's keep safe. As soon as possible, we are positioned to conduct search and rescue and other humanitarian relief and to clear roads to give access to communities that may have been marooned as a result of this.
Do you foresee this being a problem for the entirety of the island, or just the, as you were talking about, the Southwest being hit the hardest?
Well, again, just to scale the impact, all of Jamaica has been declared a disaster area under our legislative framework, which empowers the government to put certain measures in place, including emergency measures. So this means that all of Jamaica is experiencing some form of impact of a natural disaster. So where I am in Kingston, where the impact is less, as I said earlier, it's rain and wind, some amount of flooding, minor landslides. I have not heard much about roofs being dislocated or structures damaged. But as you move to the south of the island, the impact will be far worse. And the reports I've gotten from the heads of the agencies responsible for our disaster preparedness and the elected representatives of the area is that St. Elizabeth is particularly impacted. The Black River area, which is the capital of that parish, that has been severely impacted. I will be getting reports later on as the storm moves across the island. It is a slow-moving system. And so this is another dimension of the hurricane which we have to pay attention to, that the longer it stays, the more water it will shed on the island, and the longer the winds will stay, so the greater the impact. So the area of direct impact, ground zero of this hurricane, there will be devastation.
Yeah, we just really hope that something happens, it moves faster, and it gets out of your way sooner, and people are able to get out if they decided to stay. In terms of what you're expecting once the storm does pass, you say you have everything in place. You believe that you're well positioned. How long are you prepared to need to supply emergency services, emergency food, emergency housing, emergency power and water to your people?
So we expect that our electrical grid should be back up and running within weeks in the areas that are impacted. The precautionary measures were taken. We expect that our communication grid will be up and running. But the humanitarian assistance, the relief assistance, we have made the provisions. They are in, we have pre-positioned them as well. So we should be able to immediately execute that, including search and rescue operations. What we're doing here is to ensure that our local bureaucratic system works efficiently so that we can get the relief in and partner with the international community to ensure that the relief is distributed quickly and fairly and transparently to all our citizens. So that's the effort right now, to make sure that the humanitarian relief efforts and the search and rescue efforts, that those can kick in immediately or as soon as possible. There is an opening for that to be done. The recovery phase, we have already started to work on that, and that would mean getting our roads up, whatever infrastructure was damaged for trade, that would mean our airports and ports, get our hotels back, and agriculture. We already have a plan in place to ensure that our recovery is much faster, and to ensure that the rebuilding, which is the long-term strategy, that is also undertaken in a simultaneous way.
Well, a little bit of good news is Starlink says it's offering free internet access, internet capabilities to anybody impacted by the storms. It does sound like you have thought well through this and that you have everything you could possibly have in place and made all the warnings and announcements you could have made. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for taking time today to talk to us, and we do wish you...
Well, if you give me a couple more seconds just to say to my citizens,
yes,
stay inside. Now is not the time to try and save property. Batten down in your house or wherever you are, take shelter, protect life. The preparation will lessen the disaster impact. and we will recover stronger than before. Let's keep praying for the best.
Well said. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much. Prime Minister Holness, I appreciate your time, sir. Good luck.
Thank you.